Is another beautiful Thursday morning where we bring you the latest happening in the city of power. Good morning.
Good morning, Nigerians, and I guess you're preparing for Christmas. And TJ, have you made your purchases for Christmas?
I'm waiting for you to,
to send them the money.
Exactly.
Just go check your alert after this program.
You send it to my mail.
Exactly.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to FCT Brief. As Nigeria continues to grapple with persistent conflicts between farmers and herders, President Bola Tinubu's recent directive on ranching has reopened important national conversations on how best to curb insecurity. The directive, which seeks to modernize livestock management and reduce open grazing, is seen by many as a strategic step towards resolving decade-long tensions that have led to loss of lives, displacement, and economic disruptions across several states. Beyond reducing clashes, the push for ranching also carries broader implications for food security, community relations, and national cohesion.
While some stakeholders welcome the initiatives as long overdue, others raise concerns around implementation, funding, land availability, and the readiness of states to comply. As the debate grows, Nigerians are looking closely at how this policy will be executed and whether it will genuinely strengthen peace and stability across affected regions. Now, this morning on FCT Brief, we review the President's directive, assess its potential impact, and explore what must be done to ensure the ranching model delivers sustainable results. Joining us to provide expert perspective is Dr. David Obole, a public affairs analyst who will help us examine the security, socio-economic, and governance angles of this crucial national policy shift. It's nice to have you join us this morning.
It's always a pleasure to be on TVC.
All right,
thank you.
Okay, let's look at it this way. Successive governments have found it difficult to implement ranching. Even from the 2014 confab, there's been a lot of panels, but yet, and even this government at a point set up the Ministry of Livestock so that they'll have a policy base to push it further. But just recently, Mr. President directed that the VP to call a NEC meeting where NEC would take some final decisions on it. Why do you think it's difficult to hit the ground with this ranching and do it with the grazing, the livestock grazing system?
Thank you very much. To provide a background, it's important to note that top on the list of Nigeria's security problems is this issue of farmers and herders, the unholy marriage that has produced offspring of blood between farmers and herders in Nigeria. It used to be a localized issue, but now it is a nationwide issue. If you notice, Boko Haram is still localized in the northeast, but this matter of the unholy romance between farmers and herders has gained a nationwide spread, with the North Central, which is the richest in terms of the basic things that cattle need, which is water and pasture. So you discover that before the turn of the century, the entrance into the new millennium, the marriage between farmers and herders had been a cordial one, in the sense that as the semi-arid north begins to get drier, owing to little amount of volume of rainfall, it is normal for them to migrate downwards towards the middle belt and then the south, where the grasses are still there, or the foliages from the trees are still there to feed their grasses, to feed their cattle, and also the water bodies that are on ground. But from the turn into the new millennium, that began to assume a bloody dimension. Why did it begin to assume a bloody dimension? It varies from place to place. For instance, the recent address or speech by the Vice President indicated that when Boko Haram started up in the northeast, they were in Sambisa forest, but they allowed the Fulanis to graze their cattle in the open land. But after some time, they had some feud between them, and then their cattle were confiscated by the Boko Haram people. So you discover that their outing, the violence up there is based on retribution. is based on reprisal, is based on a payback for a harm that was done them in terms of their cattle being removed from them. And if you also check it in the northwest area, it also bordered on that since their cattle were taken from them, and that is their major source of livelihood, they needed to now come hard on the communities. That began the issue of banditry around there because they claimed they don't have any other source of livelihood. So the remaining cattle, they sold them, bought guns, and began to thrive on banditry. So you see that, number one, there is retribution on one side. Number two, there is pure criminality on the other side. But if you come to the north central area, you will discover that it takes another dimension where there is no provocation, but peaceful farming communities will wake up to gunshots, will wake up to the killings and the maimings and the sacking of those communities. And then these people will in turn settle in these communities and begin to feed their cattle from the farm products and the barns of the people that they have displaced. And this has occasioned the death of thousands of people within the Nigerian state and also people displaced in their millions. I come from Benue State in particular. And as I speak to you today, there are about 6 IDP camps in Benue State with close to 1 million people who have been displaced from their ancestral homesteads and are living in these IDP camps. Farmers who used to pride themselves in eating yam until the new yam comes out are now living at the mercy of handouts from government and also some philanthropic organizations and people. So that is the background of this crisis. In the Buhari administration, 6 policy trusts were put forth as a means of curbing this insecurity and also creating this cohesion between the Fulanis and communities in Nigeria. It began with the Brazilian Grass Initiative under Chief Audogbe, who was a Minister for Agriculture and Rural Development, then may his soul rest in peace. The Brazilian Grass Initiative was put forth by Audogbe. And then that initiative didn't work out. So it not went to the Ruga settlement, the cattle colony. The cattle colony required between 50 to 150,000 square kilometers of land to be given at various places or states within Nigeria, for the purpose of people to settle in and then to raise cattle and also to raise their children with amenities around. That didn't work out. It now moved to what we call the grazing routes and the grazing reserves and stock routes. Grazing reserves and stock routes. That sought to revive some of the grazing reserves that existed in the 60s. But why didn't that one work out? It was because, number one, in the 60s, Nigeria's population was just about 60 million people. Now we're about 200 and something million people. Land does not expand. It is static as a resource, but people grow. So the exploding population is such that the land available has been overtaken. Therefore, that matter of grazing reserve was no longer sustainable. So they now moved to the Ruga settlement. Ruga is a Fulani word for settlement of villages, where land was supposed to be apportioned in various communities in Nigeria. From Ruga settlement, it moved into the matter of the National Livestock Transformation Program, NLTP. And then from that, the last policy trust was the National Water Resource Control Bill of 2020. All of these policies were put forth to be able to curb insecurity. But one reason why they failed was this. Number one, the activities of the herdsmen militia across Nigeria had created a bad blood, such that no matter how well-intentioned or well-meaning the policies were, wounds are on ground for loved ones that have been lost. Wounds are on ground for resources, livelihoods that have been destroyed. So each time it comes, the policy was greeted with suspicion
so it is
from the local
deficits.
people. Yeah. What are the grounds of this suspicion? Number one, why does it look as if the federal government is always in a race to pacify one ethnic group when livestock business is supposed to be an individual business? How come the federal government is always getting involved and getting involved from the angle of providing succor to the Fulani people who have always been accused by the indigenous people of invading their communities and killing their people? So, number two is, who will provide the land? How much of land? And number three, how long will that land be given to them, since they intended to build schools and to have amenities? So the communities greeted it as a move for land grab. That is what has frustrated all of these issues.
But that will be right after the short break. Don't go anywhere. We still have more. Stay with us. We'll be right back. President Tinubu's recent directive issued his clearest directive on this ranching issue, and he also acknowledged that the land belongs to the states. Now, several northern states also received billions under this National Livestock Transformation Plan, which you talked about, and yet we see little to no change in that regard. Where did the breakdown happen? Would you say that the governors also may have deliberately stalled this plan from taking full shape?
You see, the matter is, during President Tinubu, it is 2 years into President Tinubu's tenure, and two policy trusts, have emerged. Number one, the creation of the Ministry of Livestock, and then this directive on ranching now. But all it falls on the same table, which is the mistrust of this initiative. When you talk about monies released, the Ruga initiative, billions of naira was also released. That has been unaccounted for. The National Livestock Transformation Initiative, was valued at 100 billion. And monies were also released. That also has not been accounted for.
So shouldn't we be demanding audits?
So if we must go ahead in our trajectory of fiscal discipline, all of those monies released should be investigated, and then the governors on whose watch these monies were released and the states that benefited, should have a case to answer as far as these matters are concerned. We will not continue to lose resources like this on policies that never see the light of day, and resources have been released, and then, there is no headway as far as this insecurity emanating from farmers and herders, is concerned. Yes, President Tinubu's directive is very, very clear on the matter of ranching. And I love that particular caveat he put. And the caveat is to guide the implementers of this particular directive to understand that there is no element of coercion in it. The responsibility of ownership of land is vested on the state governments, and it has to do with the willingness of the state to give out land for this ranching to be done. But the matter is this: governors are not authorities in themselves. They are sensitive to the feelings and then the decisions of their own people. If you take Benue, for instance, the issue has always been the matter of open grazing. If cattle don't graze from one place to the other, they will not meet with farmers. That is the essence of the open grazing prohibition laws that were enacted in Benue State. And as at the last time, about 25 other states too had enacted this same open grazing prohibition. Now, ranching is a very cost-intensive aspect of agriculture. Why is it so? Each cattle eats 1/5 of its body weight of food every single day to be able to survive. 1/5. It requires 1/5 of its body weight to be able to survive. Yet, ranching is still the most effective way of raising livestock. It is in tandem with global best practice, in the sense that when you do that, there is more meat, there is more whatever. But the cost of ranching is one of the reasons why there is an insistence on open grazing, which is free and more cost-effective for these people.
Okay, Mr. Bole, the challenge now is we must move forward as a country. Several policies have failed. And you also said that it's as if government keep favoring one particular community. Meanwhile, you said that the various communities that have been probably their families killed are still in pains. But we must move on. We don't want open grazing. There must be ranching. Now, what is that thing that we must do for ranching to work? Because if ranching does not work, you keep having open grazing. So the communities and those who rear the cattle will have a meeting ground, and that is where government is coming in.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's what we are talking about. The approach to it, matters a lot. Number one, the open grazing prohibition laws provided for ranches establishment also. But these people have not been keen on ranching, like I told you earlier, because of what it takes in terms of cost to ranch. This move has always been that government should fund the ranching aspect for them. That is where this whole controversy comes from. So the funding of these ranches. If if it comes to the matter of giving of land, yes, lands can be given and then the activities are controlled.
Is it out of place if government funds it?
You
create an enabling environment, is that not?
You see, ranching or livestock business is a personal business. Just like there is no funding for the average farmer in Tiv and Idomaland that cultivates yam and cassava. There is no government attention for them that gives them funding. The question is, why is this push for favoritism that one ethnic group, lifestyle should always be funded by the state government when it can fund it, they can fund it by themselves? Let's not shy away from this. Cattle business is very lucrative, and the people who own the cattle have the capacity to get the lands, ranch their cattle, and provide all of the feeds for the cattle. It may just translate into, higher prices of meat and dairy products in the market, but no price we pay for these meat and dairy products in the market can be compared to the price of one life that is lost. So this is the where there is the debacle. This is where there is the hold up. They are not willing to ranch, and then the people are saying, you must ranch. So they say, if we will ranch, government should help us to ranch. And the people are saying, if government is not helping the pig farmers and the cassava farmers and the yam farmers, why should we help one ethnic group? So it's a dicey and sensitive issue that the government must tread carefully to be able to find a balancing ground. Because like you rightly say, we must move forward. So it now behoves the pastoralists to take responsibility for procurement of land and also ranching of their cattle at their own cost.
Well, you're quite spot on, Mr. Obule, when you say that this issue of ranching is quite a sensitive matter. And some critics argue that ranching has become over-politicized while the real issue is governance failure. And some analysts also warn that this ranching may shift and not solve the problem. Moving into, it will generate issues of maybe land disputes and identity politics and resource control battles. How would you say that the government should handle these issues that may arise from this ranching?
You see, when you talk about this ranching now, Nigeria, if you divide Nigeria in half, you have the north and the south. There are 19 states in the northern part, and 10 out of these 19 states, even though a host of the upper north are predominantly Hausas with Fulanis as little population, Fulanis are the governors of 10 out of the 19 states of the north. Where they are not governors is the middle belt states, where there are more indigenous people, within. So you see that when you talk about ranching, a host of the focus is not even in the semi-arid north. The focus basically is in the middle belt and in the south. That is where the trouble comes. The suspicion is that if we give you land for ranching, how long are you going to own that land? Since land does not expand and our population is growing, so we are looking at the future possibilities of this land tussle in terms of resource control. Because the moment you give them the land and they have stayed there for 20, 50 years, they have a tendency to spread, dig in their roots, and they say the government gave us this land, it is ours. And the indigenous people say no, it was just to solve a temporary problem of insecurity.
Mr. Bola, we seem to be missing some things in here.
Yeah.
The ranching is not about government giving them, in quote, giving them land. It is government providing the enabling environment.
State government.
Just let me
get there. I'm not talking about federal government.
Sorry, let me get there. Let me establish my question for you. Let me establish my question. State government gives land, create the enabling environment. It's not about giving the lands to the cattle owners. You create the enabling environment, just like you create the free trade zone. We must move forward as a country. You create the free trade zone. Government provides the infrastructure and attract the various companies into the free trade zone so that they can establish. And also, at the end of the day, the cost of production is reduced. So, will it be out of place for these various states to come with their own policies? Okay, we have created a ranch. This is going to be for the next 10 years, for the next 15 years. It is gazetted. It is not given to them. It's owned by the state. So are we not missing some that we think that the land will be given to the cattle rearers?
That brings me, I was stating the situation, and that brings me now to the solution. Number one, it is safe to play with fire only when you can control the flames. What do I mean? This matter, the state governments will receive the proposal for the ranching only when their state assemblies, make enabling laws to be able to accommodate. And these laws now will stipulate, number one, what portion of land to be given for the ranches. Number two, where will the ranches be located within the states? Number three, what is the compensations that will be given to the indigenous people that will be displaced from those places? And number four, how long will this be given? Exactly. So these are the legal frameworks that must be put in place before land can be given, because land is a very, very sensitive thing, like you know.
So why are the states dragging in making those laws?
The states are dragging for two reasons. Number one, a lot of these states are still licking wounds from the effect of this crisis. The question now is, how can you give land to these same human beings to come? You understand what I'm talking about? And then number two, they fear too. If we had not given them land and they can come and do this, what if we give them land? Can we control who comes into these ranches and who goes out? Because let me be fair. Not every Fulani person you see is a criminal. There are a lot of them who are good. They still live within our communities. I don't know if you understand. So that we don't profile an ethnic group.
It's a good one you mentioned that there's still a trust deficit between the farmers, the farming community and the herders. Now, shouldn't the focus be on a reconciliation first before, we consider this implementation of the ranching?
You see, it's not a matter of reconciliation. Like I said earlier, there are peaceful Fulanis who have lived among us to date. In Benue State, some of them even in Tamari, they speak our languages. They speak Tiv, they speak Idoma, they speak Igede very well. And we know them. But there is a murderous militia that comes in, sacks communities and goes. But anytime they do this, the peaceful ones are still integrated into the community. There's no reprisal on them. I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about. Are you getting what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's no reprisal on them because we know them. So it's important to isolate the peace-loving ones. So to go forward, the criminal element must be eliminated.
Then the president said that the forest guards should be armed.
Thank you very much.
So is that not another way of saying, look, we're not just talking about ranching. We're going to have forest guards that will be armed to curtail.
You get it. So the criminal aspect of it must be eliminated. Because until the criminal aspect of it is eliminated, that trust deficit will continue to grow. So if trust is restored, all of these things we're talking about, it is Nigeria. Anybody should be able to live freely and work anywhere, as long as that person does not harm the host community where he's in. The Igbos straight up in the north and everywhere, they don't take up arms against people. Are you understand what I'm saying? So the criminal elements who have taken terror as an enterprise, the terrorpreneurs, must be eliminated from it. So the introduction or the policy on the forest guards is a very, very good policy. But the implementation of that policy is very, very important. You discover that various organizations have put forth proposals, to have this forest and hunters guard who will be able to clear out our forest of these criminal elements, so that the well-meaning, peaceful ones who each time their cattle stray into farmlands, compensation is paid by the cattle owners, and then life continues for them, no blood at all, so that those people can continue to live within our communities.
All right,
but you see that the moment the first proposal for the forest guards and the hunters and security force was put in place, various people, according to their interests, various people in high places began to put forth their own. And since they have the backbone to push their own through, we are now beginning to suspect, okay, who is the source? Who is the initiator of this new one? And what ethnic group are going to be employed inside of it? So the constitution, in terms of the troops on ground, is also another thing of concern. Is it going to be an all-open affair that all those who want to, number one, defend the nation's forest, and number two, earn a living too, from serving Nigeria, are going to be in, or some elements who will favor some ethnic groups now will be recruited in?
All right,
I don't know if you understand the second concern.
If you allow me come in here very quickly because of our time, states often accuse the federal government of imposing a one-size-fits-all solution to issues. Should ranching also be customized to local realities, or does it risk weakening national cohesion on security policy?
You see, it depends on the implementation of this. You see, it does not weaken national cohesion if it is implemented well. Number one, like I said earlier, the legal frameworks, if they are drawn, and number two, the security parameters are also drawn. Where these ranches, these security forces, the civil defense and even the police have an in-route into the ranches from time to time to make inspections to see that it is not a place to stockpile arms and all. If there's no criminal activities in those places, those legal frameworks should be put in place. Once it is put in place, I think there will be a measure of trust. Then we can say, let's have a pilot. So the moment the pilot succeeds for 1 year, 2 years, trust can begin to say, oh, at last, this government has the balls to be able to enforce this and also to monitor, because policy monitoring is very, very important. A lot goes haywire after policies have been put forth, money is released, implementation begins, but monitoring is absent. So, because of the suspicion that has lingered on ground, these matters must be put in place. There is hope in the horizon, I must say. There is hope in the horizon.
So the next meeting, which also constitutes the various state government, will just be a good way, a good place for them to iron out this issue so that the legal framework can also come in.
You see, I was at the forefront of this issue from Benue State. In the public hearings that were held here, Agricultural Service Committee, the Police Service Committee, we had public hearings at the Senate here. And then after looking at the intricacies, the National Assembly, in their report, abdicated the right to make these laws to the states. So that's why state assemblies began to enact, this open grazing prohibition and ranches establishment laws. So I see that the same governors who form the NEC now, if they sit together and they say, okay, pastoralists, you can come in, we will give you land in so and so and so and so place, but these are the conditions for the ranching. And the conditions are met, I think, we'll be able to go peacefully away from there. We have never shied away from it. It is just, number one, the sincerity on the part of the government not to favor one ethnic group, and number two, the future implications in terms of land ownership and tussle. And then number three, the security implications, when land is given and people have exclusive control of in and out in a particular location. But these matters can be ironed out, and then we can move forward as far as this ranching is concerned, because ranching is the solution, not open grazing.
Mr. David Ogbole, you've made the past 30 minutes a very robust conversation here on the table. I must say thank you so much for your contributions. Thank you so much for your time.
As always, I'm honored. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for being a part of our conversation. We'll now hand you over to Lagos, where Ria and the rest of the team are standing by